Welcome to Semper Fi. I'm your host, Staff Sergeant Bonstein, or referred to as Staff Sergeant B. I have a guest today on the show, but first I'm going to touch on a couple of quick things on September 9th. What happened in history? General history in 1776. The term United States was adopted by the Second Continental Congress to be used instead of the United Colonies. In 1841 in the Navy, first iron ship authorized by Congress. And in the Marine Corps in 1950, Captain Lewis E. Brown became the first Marine Corps aviator to fly a jet in combat. In 1972, the Air Force, Captain Charles D. Belva, and I apologize if I say that name wrong, he was a weapons systems officer flying with a co-pilot, Captain John Madden, in a McDonnell Douglas F-4D, shot down 2 MiGs near Hanoi. And then in the Army, Sergeant Hay Fried, I Company, 5th Marine, received the Congressional Medal of Honor for heroism. Today's guest is a Lieutenant Colonel who is in charge of the ROTC of the high school. Welcome to my guest, Lieutenant Colonel Hine. Welcome aboard.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Colonel.
Okay, I graduated high school way back in '66. Joined the National Guard, the 891st Battalion Combat Engineers. We got activated in '69 and did our tour and during the Vietnam era. Then I re-enlisted because I stayed when the Guard unit got deactivated. I stayed active and stayed in the infantry unit, and then re-enlisted for OCS in '72. And then graduated class 373, and we graduated. My first assignment was Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and the 1st Battalion, 18th Field Artillery, 5.5 unit. Spent 3 years there. Got sent to Germany and commanded a Pershing warhead detachment in Germany. And then in '75, they returned to advanced course at Fort Sill, because if you're an artilleryman, you always go to Fort Sill.
Really?
And we went to advanced course there and ran into a bunch of, all the Marine officers in the artillery went there. Ran into some of the guys I went through the basic course with. And one of them was an instructor, because he got there before us.
Right.
And he left the flight school. And about 6 years later, I seen his wife, found out he was flying those Harriers and whacked one, you know. So he wasn't around anymore, but he's a really good guy.
Oh.
He's Major Harrison.
Okay.
And then I went on to Fort Carson, commanded Charlie Battery, 1st Battalion, 27th Artillery, and then got sent to staff after my command was up division. At the time, the ADC was General Powell.
Really?
Yep. I forgot to say, back my battalion commander was General Shelley Costaviti, who was also Chief of Staff of the Army,
Really?
along with, right after General Powell. And, well, anyway, General Powell was there, and the headquarters company division was crashed and burned. So they asked me if I would leave staff, which I was glad to do, and go take over command of the headquarters of the 4th Infantry Division. I did. And then from there, I went to Command and General Staff College at Leavenworth. By that time, General Powell was there commanding that.
Oh, he was the instructor there as well?
We didn't hang out together.
Okay.
He'd see me in the hallway. And
Is that the same thing as Combat War College?
yeah,
Okay.
You go to basic course, advanced course, and you go to Command and General Staff College. A lot of services, different services
Now,
come
in the military.
After that comes the War College at Carlisle Barracks.
Okay, is that considered a career enhancement? If
Yeah,
you're
each you don't do those, don't think you're going to get promoted.
You're not going to go up in rank. It's
No.
almost like in the Marines having a B billet,
Yeah.
being a drill instructor or a recruiter.
Yes.
You need a B billet
There's
too.
just certain check marks you got to have. Command, as a company commander is one.
It's like going to
advanced
Staff
course,
Academy,
Yep.
NCO school.
Yep, that kind of thing.
So what year did you initially go? So I can tell by your ribbons, you were enlisted first.
Yes.
So what year did you go to boot camp
Uh,
as enlisted?
Oh, 66 with the National Guard.
Okay.
You join them. About 3 months later, they sent me to Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Right.
And, I went
And
to
that was
boot
for your
camp.
MOS school there? Or
Yep. No, I went back. They scheduled the MOS for the next summer, and that's what I do at National Guard.
Okay.
That's how I got into the infantry, because we were activated before I went to AIT.
Okay.
And so we just went to Fort Riley and then went on, got our training and went on. They just deployed me without that.
And what rank were you when you
PFC.
got commissioned to become an officer?
I was E5 on the E6 list.
Okay.
And in fact, while I was in OCS, I made staff sergeant, but I never got to wear a rank. I got pay, though. I got to pay. And then about 3 months later, I made, graduating, made second lieutenant. Got on second lieutenant pay.
And your whole career, how many years did you wind up doing?
23 years, 10 months.
23 years. Wow.
Yeah, 19 as an officer.
You weren't enlisted very long at all.
Well, it didn't take long during Vietnam. You go into a platoon and people get injured and disappear, in the old blood stripe system.
Disappeared. I like that.
But once you made sergeant, it got a lot tougher to get promotions, boards, and everything else. But PFC Spec 4, even sergeant was just basically, well, you're the senior guy. Let's have a quick board. Okay, you're good. Pin them on. We'll cut the orders.
A lot of paper shuffling then.
Yeah, and so that's how I became a sergeant. And then staff sergeant was, what do you mean I got to go through all this stuff? I never did this before.
Yeah, I did the same thing when they sent me to staff academy. Yeah, it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So I noticed you wear jump wings, and where'd you go to school for those?
Fort Benning.
And that's still traditionally where a lot of the Army goes, or all the branches go to?
Well, my son in the Air Force, he's third generation jumper because my dad fought in the 101st. He did his at the Air Force Academy.
Okay, so mainly everybody in the Army goes to Fort Benning?
Fort Benning.
Okay, 'cause I have my son's friend is in the Army. He's in Georgia right now, and he said he's getting ready to get his jump wings.
Mm-hmm. And if most of the airborne, if you're going to, we only have one division of airborne now, and that's the 82nd at Bragg.
The others are all...
Yeah. The 101st has, I think, one battalion, maybe two airborne. And, all the Rangers are airborne, that kind of thing, Special Forces. So a lot of people are airborne, but the only airborne division is the 82nd at the moment. The 101st is now air mobile.
Okay. And what exactly does air mobile mean?
That means everything is choppers. They don't use a lot of wheels or tracks. Everything is done by choppers.
Okay, they just fly them in, drop them off.
More Black Hawks. It's like I told my son when I went to Air Force, the Army has more aircraft and pilots than the Air Force and Navy combined.
Yeah.
But he says, Air Force. I said, okay, whatever.
Well,
yeah.
You're going to do it. They want to go there, Like I said, my son's trying to get in the Air Force himself, so,
Yeah. My son enjoys it. He's had 3 tours already. He's back stationed up in Spokane.
Were you ever a company commander?
I commanded a warrior detachment, an 8-inch field artillery, 1st 27th Field Artillery at Fort Carson, then headquarters company of the 4th Infantry Division.
You said you were over in Germany. Did you?
That was the warhead detachment.
That was it?
Pershing warhead detachment.
Okay, that was in Germany.
Reagan came along and got rid of all the nukes, so nobody ever has to do that again.
How long were you stationed in Germany for?
I had 3 years the first time, then I went back as a major to the 1st Armored Division, and I was the S2 of the Division Artillery, then became the S3 of 1st Battalion, 22nd Field Artillery in the 1st Armored Division.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then, I just kept moving on. I went back to Fort Riley. I was in the Reserve Forces Training Group. We trained the 35th Infantry Division there in Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, part of Kentucky, part of Colorado. It was spread out everywhere. We spent a lot of time running around training those guys. And then I did that 2 years. In the Army, you go someplace for 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
You usually get 2 assignments, each of them 18 months to 2 years. So after 2 years of that, Desert Storm happened. First ID was looking for a fire support officer. I was it. So, I had both my tours in Vietnam and my tour in Desert Storm was with the first ID.
Now, how long did that tour last over there?
Oh, it wasn't really that long. Once I got there, we were already moving equipment down to Galveston, Texas, where we loaded up our equipment.
Right.
And we got all that loaded probably mid-December. They sent us all home for Christmas. They put us on planes in January. And by that time, our equipment had arrived in Saudi Arabia, and we picked it up, moved out to the desert, and did some training before the kickoff.
Yeah, it was that nice build-up time we had, right?
It's just... Actually, I had tougher training cycles at NTC, the National Training Center at Fort Irwin, than I did at Desert Storm. That wasn't a real tough assignment.
The old proverbial hurry up and wait. Get out there. And
we sat in the desert for a long time before we actually kicked it off. But we weren't the only ones. The whole 7th Corps was there. They brought all 7th Corps in from Germany. We were part of 7th Corps. So we hooked up with them again and just waited, trained, But, Desert Storm happened. I got back. They shipped me off to the Pentagon, the Army Concept in Alice Agency. I wrote after-action reports about Desert Storm.
Really?
Yeah. They brought in, all the units did their after-action report. They sent them in, and we cleaned them up, and the Army puts them together and for history.
Oh, is that right? Oh, for...
Yeah, so they send them back for the unit history. They're all put in an archive for the Army to look at. I also did some studies. Myself and a guy named Colonel Francisco wrote a study on heavy division deployment, what it takes them, can we deploy them, sustain themselves for 30 days up to 90 days? How many beams, bullets, Band-Aids, you name it, anything, everything it takes to support them. There's all the support, because soldiers got there, how many casualties they would take, how many replacements they would need during that 30 to 90 day combat. I think they just filed that away in the library somewhere and forgot about it.
Well, like you said, if it goes into the archives, it's going to be something that lessons learned, and it's going to be, how long were you at the Pentagon for?
I was there about a year and a half
Really?
before they decided I was going off to Kurdistan, which is northern Iraq after Desert Storm. We to protect the Kurds from Saddam Hussein, who, because they broke loose during that period. And General Charlie Cassavetes was in command of that. But it was 2 years unaccompanied. And I looked at myself and go, time to retire. I don't need 2 years in Kurdistan. So,
Kurdistan.
yeah, our headquarters was Incirlik, Turkey. And then I asked, well, how often were you there? About once a month.
Really?
So I said, nah, I just don't need this. So I retired in 93. And then I taught high school and coached basketball and baseball for the next 10, 15 years in Kansas, Wyoming, and here until I was offered this job by Dr. Roberts at the Nye County School District. So I moved from Amagosa Middle School up here to take over the RTC program. Because I taught at Amagosa Middle School and coached at Beatty High School.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
And so you've been doing ROTC how many years
This is
now?
my second year.
Be your second year doing ROTC.
I didn't even know, the program. My son didn't go to it. I didn't go to it. I knew it existed, but I just, never had that much contact with it.
So, been teaching ROTC, and we're going to take a quick break. Going to come back and talk about some of the conceptions about ROTC. How people always feel like they don't want their kids to go to ROTC because they feel like if they do, that means they're going to the military.
A lot of our kids don't join the military.
No, but it's the ROTC.
Our mission is to make better citizens.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk to the Colonel again about ROTC. So join us for a cup of coffee, and we'll be right back. Thank you.